Hey guys, what's crackin'? Godsman here, coming with a follow-up to my premium selection tier list video where I ranked the strides. And look at all these lovely G-guards down here. Yeah, didn't want to leave them out of the picture, right? You know, this was the other half of the hype for the entire set. New G-guards! Yes, defensive options, what everyone in Vanguard wants. So, with a lot of these being great, this might be a little bit tough, maybe even a little bit controversial depending on where I rank these, but I'm going to do the best I can. And yeah, there's really no more ground rules other than the ground rules that I set in the other video, so if you're wondering about those, just go check that out. You'll be able to see it just right before this, probably. And with that said, let's get begin. So, starting with Royals. Yeah, we've got a okay G-guard here. This is neat, you know, it does give like an interceptor pretty cool ability, right? That's how it works with its shielding ability. But overall, it just doesn't feel that great, right? Because when you look at a lot of your decks, like, sure, okay, intercepting is kind of a thing in Royals. I think in particular this is great in Alt-Mile, and Alt-Mile will really use this G-guard. But aside from Alt-Mile, maybe not so much, but, you know, Mass Skull being one of their better G-guards is appalling. That's just literally just a 10k G-guard. Well, 10k plus on top of the 15 base shield. So its competition is not very steep. But yeah, you know, I'm just gonna put it in okay. You may play it, you may not play it. Probably won't play it if you're playing something that's like Alfred of Blast oriented, because Marin's also really good. Anyway, moving on, we're going to be looking at the OTT one. So the OTT one, no thanks. So the thing about the OTT one is you have to predict the top like card of your deck based on like 2 grades that you declare. But this is totally based on you stacking the deck, which can happen, but then by that point, things like Amaterasu feels more beneficial, so I don't see this being used very often. You can run it if you want, but generally speaking, if I'm not playing it in the G zone, it probably is going to go in the no thanks tier. Anything that may or may not see use in the G zone is going to be going above that. And so this is a good representation of, yeah, I don't think I see a point in this G-guard very much. Fortunately though, this is one of the like few exceptions where a G-guard just doesn't seem that great to me. Most of the other stuff is pretty cool. So yeah, we're going to be moving up from there. Next up is this Busted Angel G-guard, an absolute staple. Gonna just be running it right off the bat. Literally just heals you by selectively taking something from the damage zone and moving it to the Guardian Circle. I mean, come on, you know, just move a crit set or just move anything else that has a pretty decent shield. It's a very selective shield, it can be pretty high, and again, it heals you. That is different. That is powerful. It just can't be argued against. It's amazing. Sure, you're essentially counterblasting 2 and soul blasting 1, but that's not some non-negotiable like price, right? Their new stride that it revealed just in the other video is essentially a countercharge 3, so that more than makes up for this. Not to mention that she selectively puts stuff from drop zone into the damage zone, which cycles with this really well, because that means that whatever this move to Guardian Circle is going to go to the drop, which will then go back to the damage, so another one of this can then pseudo heal it out by moving into Guardian Circle. It's a perfect circle. So yeah, no debating on this one. This is just a staple. Something else that's pretty much a staple is Deep Griever. So yeah, as opposed to Crown Clock, which was just a pretty decent stride that you might play in Shadows, this is just far and away one of the best like G-guards in the entire set. This thing's a potential 40k that can be a pseudo PG, which is a theme for a lot of these. But let's just think about this for a second. A lot of Shadows can have a potential deck out problem, so putting back grade 1s is totally in line with things like Luard, Claret. It's even in line with things like Revengers. Like as a Revenger main, I will tell you that we run the frickin' Legion and Chainranker it just so we can put back some cards in the deck. That's how bad it is. We're struggling out here for recycle. And this is it. You can recycle 5 at a time. Sure, some people have like posed the argument that, oh, you might not want to put back 5 because it can hurt your rituals. Well, guess what, Buckaroo? Then don't put back 5. Just put back as much as you need. This is just like, to me, this is just better overall than most of the other G-guards. The only ones this is really competing with is things like Plotmaker and Darkveil, but I think even then, the Plotmaker and Darkveil are going to go down. I can imagine Darkveil doesn't even like have a place in the deck anymore. You might still play Plotmakers or not. It's a pretty like low throw kind of guard, you know, easy the extra 10k, but I just imagine this just kind of ascends those overall in terms of G guarding. So yeah, an absolute staple. You're gonna see it. So Sanctified Dragon is okay. It's an okay G guard, you know. It's kind of like Slay Me Flare, potentially a little bit weaker. The thing that it has going above Slay Me Flare, though, is the fact that even though you're not, like, your selection is pretty bad by only picking the top 2, you don't have to bot deck a unit on the field. So unlike Slay Me, this is technically not a neg. And you can also draw a card, potentially, which makes this into sort of a plus. Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's got some advantages over Slay Me. So if you're trying to swing low and be more of like a attritionist about it, then yeah, this is pretty cool. But otherwise, you know, it's just okay. So, you know, actually, let's put it in good, but it's gonna go further down. Next up is the Genesis one. No, thank you. I'd rather not neg 2 just for some shield. Yeah, no thank you. Sure, okay, -2 created a unit, cool. I don't want a neg 2 for it. That's just all I'm gonna say about that. Sure, selective soul charge, but whatever. Okay, now we're moving on to the next nation. So Kagero 1. This one's pretty okay. You know, like, as opposed to Balakart, which didn't understand what a Stride and Kagero should do, this one does understand what a G guard should be doing in Kagero. I can see the opponent's board actually appertaining to this ability to defend. Sure, you're pitching cards from hand, to my recollection, as a part of it, but you may not necessarily need to pitch that much. So yeah, you know, it's a cool option. The only reason why it's not good or above is the pitching. It's pretty situational. You have to line things up for this to be pretty cool, but I can see this being run, so it is going to objectively be above the no thanks tier. A staple goes to Nubatama. Yeah, Moria Lord, getting 5k for every card in your opponent's hand. Now, this is premium, fellas. You're going to be having a lot of cards in hand, most likely. But you know what? Moria Lord, they understand that you might not. So what happens? You draw a card, the opponent has 4 or less cards, which, you know, for things like Dai Hozon especially, that is a lot easier to set up. But maybe you're like hit him with Rene or something. Yeah, regardless, right? This, whether it's low cards in hand or high cards in hand, this value as a G guard cannot be denied. They didn't have a lot of very strong G guards. I mean, Kahoricon was pretty cool, and then like outside of that, I think I can't even pronounce it, but it could get like pretty cool shield, like 25 or 30k shield, depending on the amount of cards in your hand. This one is just kind of like that, but its ceiling is way higher, albeit for a counterblast. But then you have Sakura Fubuki to help you with the countercharging. So yeah, overall, you're going to be seeing this. This is one of the better G guards by a mile. So now we have the Tachi G guard. So the Tachi G guard, I think it's going to be going near the top of good because its ability to shield is really strong, but it is predicated on wiping some cards from your board, but you are drawing it back, so you're not technically negging. But, you know, then again, of course, you are destroying your own board, so depending on what you've done, you can't really overextend if you want to make this pretty strong. So it's really just your choice at that point. You can make an argument for strong, but I'm just going to put it at the top of good because I've heard some commotion that, yeah, you know, if you swing high, this is cool, but if not, maybe not, you know, it's debatable. All right, so another pretty good one is going to be the one for Murakumo. So yeah, the Murakumo one can get some pretty good shield value, but it has that bounce effect as well. You might be like, well, what does that bounce effect do, really? My answer is it can bounce back a Shiryuki. Smile. Yeah, you know, that sort of anti-front row, like, it's like an anti-front trigger, you know, it's minus 10k to 3 units in the front row. Yeah, you could bounce that back to the hand. That's pretty poggers. Sure, okay, it takes a Soul Blast to bounce it back, and then it's Soul Blast 2 just to activate Shiryuki, so you're definitely digging into your soul when you do this play, but it is a play, and on top of that, just the fact that it has shield value outside of it is good enough to put it in the good tier. I can see this being run pretty reliably. So now, this is just okay, in my opinion, but the Narukami G guard is okay, because you have to sort of play the mind game with the opponent. Because here's how the mind game works, if you ask me. Oh, I'm going to attack with the van first, but the van, should I be making it big or should I be making it low? If they're trying to play around some of the other cards, they probably can't play around this because this will get beefy shield, or it's going to bind some of your opponent's front row. It doesn't have the annoying restriction that Bulwark had, which is like rest or whatever. And also I think it was like Thunderstrike 4. It doesn't have those annoying restrictions, but your opponent gets to choose. So if you line things up right, you can put them in a bad like catch-22 position, but if your opponent plays smart, that's probably not going to be so much the case. So I don't know, it's okay, right? It's okay. It still has pretty beefy shield potential, which is more than basically all the other G guards can say. There was one that can like bind 2 from your drop, which can be 25, but this can be a max of 35, so that does have a higher threshold, right, fellas? All right, so moving on, we've got the G guard for Novas. So yeah, you could draw a few cards, but you could be doing a lot of counterblasting with it, which can be countercharged back. I do understand the Novas have a pretty good like countercharging thing, but no, because it depends on how much you push. It's just okay, right? I feel like it's around the same level as the Narukami one, which is, it's okay. You can run it, but it's not something that's like, when you're thinking of G guards, you're not like wanting necessarily to always go into this one, not thinking like, okay, when I G guard, let's think about this unit. That's probably not the case. They have like the one that can that's sort of like a Golphilia by flipping itself down with countercharge. That's probably more the G guard you want to go for over than this one. So yeah, it's just okay. If you've like really pushed with say the stride that you just got, then I can see where you can get some like in a pinch advantage that could save you. So that's where it is. So absolute staple, maybe the best G guard amongst all the clans that, in terms of what they got this set. Yeah, Dimension Police one. I mean, what do I say, right? Easy Soul Blast, which is a cost that D Police is more than willing to pay just to get 2 grade 3 normal units. That's Shield, that's Persona Ride, that's Ultimate Stride potential, that's getting... It's just everything for you. It's rear guards potentially. It's just everything. Your whole deck strategy is predicated almost certainly on grade 3s most of the time. So you can't go without this. This is just a +2, and it has the audacity to be a 25k shield on top of that, which is decent. It's infallible. If you ask me, this is probably the best G guard. Up there with things like Deep Griever, bro. Like, really, it is. It's just disgusting. It really is. So now we've got Big Ripper. So Big Ripper is going to be going into good. Yeah, Big Ripper's kind of situational, but when you think about it, it's sort of like a mix of Lacus Karina and Maxwell, and that does streamline things, and it adds a different situation to a guard. If I remember correctly, it also can get like shield, right? Yeah, so it can get some shield value, which is a big struggle for Link Joker. Let me just say, it is a big struggle. You have to do things like Destiny Guardian or whatever to even get like a 10k shield. So yeah, this does give you more shield. It's not like huge shield or anything like that. It's still around the same level as Destiny Guardian, but it's in a more streamlined, convenient way. So that's why I think it's a good one. You're probably going to be running this. So if you'll notice, the Strong has been kind of not populated very much, right? Which is a little concerning. That's going to change now. Here's the Spikes one. Yeah. I mean, it recycles, gets you draw, and can have shield value. It's literally like a jack of all trades G guard in this freaking thing. Like, holy crap. This Spikes thing, it probably deserves to be up here, to be real. It probably deserves it, but I'm just going to keep it down here for the time being. But we'll see where, you know what, no, is it a staple? Yeah, it's a staple. Spikes don't have like some super ridiculous G guards, I don't believe. So yeah, this is going to be something you'll almost certainly be playing. I mean, yeah, you're gonna be playing this, right? It like I said, just does everything. So we got a strong G guard for DI though. Being able to give crits on 1 or 2 units, like -2 crits, is a great way to just make restands on the front row a moot point. And it's a good variety because DI does have pretty strong G guards, but this one tackles an area that they're a little bit weak on because they can intercept things that are like pretty powerful or whatnot, but things that just have a lot of crits and the multi-attack is pretty bad because remember, DI is at its heart a Protect deck. And unless you're playing something like Dantarian, a lot of multi-attack can be pretty annoying, so this is cool against that. Alright, so next up on the table, I believe, is the Pale Moon one. This is also strong, right? This one gets really strong shield, but also has the ability to neg your opponent one by moving into soul, but you're negging a potential attacker of theirs. So that's sort of the same thing as what the Hari PG does with what was her name? I think it was Tricky Assistant. Yes, that's what it was. I recalled correctly. So Tricky Assistant has a similar combo there, and that's a powerful combo. Now your opponent gets to choose, but if they've overextended the front row, that can be good. But even if not, it's still a solid like shield for you, and that's enough to put in the strong tier. So yeah, Pale Moon is going to be running this. We've got an okay Gear Chronicle thing right here. This is just okay. Here's the thing about the Gear Chronicle one. It's pretty overcosted for a PG effect that we've somewhat come to expect from a few of these different freaking G-Guards. Yeah, because having to pitch total costs of 6 or more grades in hand it's dicey. Sure, okay, you have stuff that can be treated as grade 3 in the hand when you're discarding it. That's nice. That is nice. I still don't want to like neg like that for it, but if you gotta do it, you've gotta do it. So I will see this being played. Now, joining basically the spiritual sister in the DI G-Guard, we've got the Granblue G-Guard. The Granblue G-Guard is sort of like the opposite coin, whereas the DI one counts increments of 10 in soul to distribute -1 crits, the Granblue G-Guard gives multiples of like minus crits based on every 10 cards in drop. So you've got a bit of a trade-off here. I think when looking at this, the payoff of the Granblue G-Guard of minusing multiple crits may or may not be better depending on what you're concerned with. If this is against something like the cross or whatever, this is definitely better. But then if you got like a lot of multi-attacks throughout the front row, this can kind of stop one, but you know, that's what it is, right? But while the DI one I think has the superior payoff of having like -1 crits, the Granblue one's a lot easier to achieve because increments of 10 in the drop zone is easy. I mean, look at Bartholomew, right? Its battle door is based on having 30 or more cards in drop zone, so that should tell you something. So yeah, that's way easier to achieve, I think, than like increments of 10 in soul for DI. You could probably get 1 or 2, but still you have to like kind of push in order to get 2. So you're probably only gonna get like a -1 crit for 1 unit if you're just kind of playing pretty milquetoast in DI. So yeah, for that reason, they do belong in the same tier because they do pretty similar things. And just like with DI, Granblue has strong G-Guards, but they don't have the minus crit. So this is just another angle to take your defense. You know, it helps patch up the gaps for another Protect deck. So yeah, these just basically go together. They're like sister kindred spirits. Now, as for the Bermuda one is pretty strong. Because depending on where you look at it, sure, okay, it's a CB, but then you get to either have like this sort of mini defensive, or you get to have a pretty beefy shield. That's pretty cool. And basing it based on like the grade you bounce back is pretty cool too, because very much in line with what the Murakumo G-Guard was like, you are able to get some nice potential with it. You know, bouncing back relevant rear guards is cool. I think that what they chose to do in terms of grades is also very nice, because bouncing back the grade 3 and translating that like over to the particular effect line, you probably need that effect if you're bouncing back a grade 3, not gonna lie, because it's not a shield in hand, but it is like a ride. So yeah, it's sort of Swiss Army knifey. Maybe not Swiss Army knifey to the extent that the Spikes G-Guard was, but you still have like a couple different areas where this is a strong, solid G-Guard. I know F all about what Bermuda G-Guards do, but just from my impression and just like looking at them briefly, this seems like it has a pretty strong playstyle. It's a solid G-Guard. And the same is going to be said for the G-Guard for Aqua Force. I think I'm going to put a little bit behind the Bermuda one. Actually, no, they're just equivalent. They're just equivalent, right? So yeah, same basic cost, and you have similar effects, but this one's based on waves of the turn. So I think it is going to be slightly, like if you were to like look at these side by side, I think I'd like the Bermuda one a little bit more because it's more in your control because of just what you bounce. Now, if there's a field wipe, that's it. But with this one is first battle first battle of the turn. You just first wave, 5k. defensively for the rest of the turn. But if it's like 4th or more, then you get like the big shield. So yeah, this one's based on how your opponent attacks. You're not always going to conveniently see that, so sometimes you would kind of have to just like shoehorn in this heal guardian, or I mean this G guardian, just to get that 5k if you really want to get that protracted value of having like a 17k base Vanguard. So it's not always convenient, but when it's relevant, it's very, very, very relevant, and it's a strong shield. It's a strong shield that is kind of like Ice Barrier Dragony in terms of timing if you have the strong shield effect, but it does cost a counterblast. It's slightly stronger, but it does cost a counterblast. Thing is though, Golphilia is a thing that's like an on-demand countercharge from the G zone every turn, so, and maybe even multiple countercharges. You have multiples flipped up. So yeah, this isn't that concerning. So yeah, I see this being a pretty freaking strong G guard overall. So we have a okay. I'm gonna put you right here. Yeah, so the Megacolony one is really up to the opponent's choice, but you are inconveniencing them, so it's pretty situational overall. Yeah, like, I think it's fitting that it belongs right next to the Narukami one, because you're playing the mind game with them. You're trying to hamper their offense based on like resting and things like that, and it just gets, it starts off really beefy, but then, you know, they can taper it down. So just by putting the ball in their court, it's going into the okay tier, but it's not a no thanks, because I can see this probably being a one of distinctly in the deck, because it feels like the 3rd best G guard they've got, because their G guards are pretty polarizing overall. They have like 1 or 2 pretty good ones, and the Siren Nest is like whatever, so I see this having a place in there. Now, the I'm not sure if this is surprising or not, I actually kind of like the one for Great Nature. So yeah, the one for Great Nature, it's another one of those pseudo PG ones. It's coupled with being a choose your effect type thing, but it's got the Isabelle type flavor. You know, you lottery it. If it's a trigger, then you can PG. If it's a normal unit, then you get big shield. The thing I like about this card is that when you look at it, you can play lottery, and like let's say you're going up against a pretty big attack and you need to like use multiple cards to guard anyway. You can throw this down, lottery, and if you high roll, congratulations, you don't need to do anything else. You've pseudo PG'd it. If you low roll, then this is still a big ass shield that you can throw other stuff on top of it, like bigger than a lot of other Great Nature G guards. So your value is almost always present, no matter what effect you choose. So I'm going to put on the top of good. One thing to note about it is that with Isabelle, this really interacts well, because with Isabelle you get both choices anyway. So yeah, you're essentially running APGs potentially at that point when you're playing this card. So yeah, it's top of the line good stuff. It could be kind of weird to use, but I see it being pretty cool. And then we've got a pretty strong G guard over here for putting it right here. Yeah, we got a pretty strong G guard for Neo Nectar. Can be pretty strong shield, but the fact that it recycles is totally in line with what the deck does. But I kind of memed all the Counterblast G Guardians. I was like, oh, Counterblast, oh, this costs again. This is so original, guys. And then look at this one, kind of one-upping the whole thing and having you be able to countercharge in addition to putting back units. For the love of God, don't put back rear guards. Only put back like duos from the drop. If you can't do it, then maybe don't do it. But if you kind of have to do it, then okay, maybe you can take a neg from the field. And that's the reason why it's in the strong tier, not in the staple, is because the timing isn't necessarily always right depending on when you have the drop. So that's the only thing holding it back. But once you have like it down, good shield that just builds you resources. Just good resourcing G guard. So yeah, just total thumbs up to the Neo Nectar one. Alright, and that will do it for today. This is my ranking of the G guards. We've got a pretty nice even split like all around here, so it's not quite as like solid, in my opinion anyway, as what we were getting for the strides. The strides were a little bit more definitive and being like really strong stuff, whereas with these G guards, you know, they're competing, but I think these are still an exciting part. I think a lot of these from OK up we'll see play. The OKs are a little bit more debatable, but definitely good up you're going to see play with these. And from that point, it's just more of judging between themselves, just why we see more of an even split here. They're a little bit more stratified as opposed to the strides, which were just more within like the general feel of how they did with the clan. A lot of them were just generally good because that's what premium selection is meant to be. It was a very well designed set. So that's sort of the reasoning, I think, for this. If you have any suggestions on this tier list maker, right? Like suggest, oh, you know, this Megacolony Sniffy, right? It's actually like supposed to be staple because Godsman, you don't know this, but yeah, we Novas are going to always be in a good position for this just because of how we play. I generally did not know that, so if that's the case, let me know, and let me know other cool fun facts that will either put things up or put things down within this tier list. And if you like this video, then yeah, please like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz, for more Vanguard content, as I will be posting quite frequently, I would imagine. Maybe not every day or even every couple days, but enough that you'll see me around. Alright, with that, take care, God bless.